Hey guys, I know a lot of you out there building the Goblin 380, including myself. I know that there are some others out there that have been having the same issue that I encountered in regards to the tail slider and the tail assembly. I aired the question out online with multiple responses, multiple feedback, researched it on other forums as well, varying solutions to the problem. Some of which I wasn't crazy about. People talked about just setting the screws in and praying that the Loctite holds. I'm not a big fan of that with things spinning at the high RPMs that they do. I think that's kind of a disaster waiting to happen. I talked to a few other people who had gone as far as taking the tail shaft and sanding it down to change the tolerances to allow the tail slider to slide freely. I noticed in my scenario that may not be the same as others, but some of you may encounter the same issue. I noticed that once the tail slider was assembled with the links tightened down, that the slider would not go over the tail shaft. If I turned it around to the square end of the brass bushing, it would go over the tail shaft just about halfway and then tighten up. After measuring with a micrometer, I noticed that once the links were tightened down, the brass bushing was slightly out of round, almost if you grabbed the top of a paper towel tube and squeezed it. So it was kind of oval, not so much round. Not very noticeable to the eye, obviously, because it was just off ever so slightly. So my thought was, how can I make this tolerance match the tolerance of the square end of the tail slider? And obviously, being brass, it is going to set in after hours of use, but however, it's just the servo moving this back and forth. It's not something that's spinning freely to allow it to wear in over time. I tried to accelerate this process this morning after thinking about it overnight, and my solution to my scenario, which may help others, I'm not saying that this is the end-all be-all, but I do hope that this helps some of you guys out there to allow you to set those screws down tightly down to the spacers in the plastic links as described in the manual. Basically what I did was I assembled the tail slider loosely, slid it over the shaft of the tail, tightened the screws up just a little bit so that it was snug, and then I chucked the tail up into my cordless drill. What I did from there was put it on a higher speed, put a little bit of tri-flow grease along the shaft of the tail, and proceeded to spin the tail while holding the slider in the other hand. After just about 5 or 10 seconds, I noticed it to free up very quickly. I proceeded to tighten down the two screws a little bit more, even turns on both sides, continued to do that, spun the drill more, noticed it free up very easily, very quickly, until the screws were fully seated, as you would want to per the manual. Nice and tight, not white knuckle tight, but tight enough, and continued to do this for about another 10 or 20 seconds. It came out beautiful, very smooth. I disassembled, cleaned everything off, put a little bit more grease on it, did it again. Now everything is moving very freely. I am going to proceed to assemble the tail slider, hook it all up, and then post some pictures as well, but I'll include some pictures in the video along the way. I hope this helps some of you out there that are encountering the same issue, and hope to get this guy up flying soon. So as you can see here, guys, I have the tail slider and tail assembly fully together, greased with the tri-flow grease, and after assembly and the wearing in of that brass bushing, everything is very, very smooth, no binding, nothing holding up. It really worked out very well. Hope this works for you guys.